Fantastic. Welcome back, everybody. This is our afternoon session, and it's going to be with myself, Alicia, and Stephen. This afternoon, we're going to talk about SARA application process, complaints a little bit, and fees a little bit. To start off, I see Emily's back, and I want to thank again SARA for providing a grant for us. They had an opportunity to share some resources with states in their region, and one of the things that we used those resources was to develop an online process for institutions participating in SARA to annually renew, rather than sending paper documents or going by email back and forth. And sometimes the emails go to different people. And follow-ups go to different people. So this way, it's going to be like a little one-stop shop for everybody. So first, let me figure out what I want to share. I'm going to share my screen real quick like a bunny. So this screen is the department's landing page for SARA. do.mo.gov, and it's distance education, or if you just go to the main page and scroll down and to the left, you'll see state authorization reciprocity agreement. The link may be a little outdated, I'm not sure, but you will have a link right here to the initial application that you fill out with that goes to us and to NC SARA. That document is not going to change that process. You guys fill out everything, get the appropriate individuals to sign it. It's what happens after that document will change, and we'll put a link in here for you guys. So what that is going to look like for my certified schools, you will already know this entity, but it's called EdVera. There we go. And excuse me. It is an online workflow system. It is cloud-based. So wherever you are at, if it has Wi-Fi, you have access to it. Staff has gone in and added all of our SARA participating institutions, as well as the primary and secondary SARA individuals at those institutions. And after this convening, will be sending those individuals their temporary passwords so they can actually access the system and go in and take a look. For my certified schools, again, you guys already know this. You don't have to worry about it. You have a SARA document now there for you for renewals. But for our brand new institutions, brand new to SARA, we are going to go through the process of how to use this SARA EdVera system. So I'm not sharing anymore. Stephen, would you go ahead and start sharing your screen? So Stephen is a new user at an institution, and he's going to get this URL, not exactly this one, but a URL, and he's going to be completely lost. And he's like, oh no. But luckily, his state portal entities have sent him his email and his password. So please go ahead and enter that information, sir. It's a super secret temporary password. So once you sign in, what's supposed to happen is that if it's a temporary password, you will be notified to input a new one of your own choosing, but we will show you how to do that. Let's share as it catches up. There we go. So in the upper right hand corner, you'll see your name and a little drop down button. Stephen, can you follow along there? Upper right hand corner. There you go. Drop down and profile, and you'll see that's how you change your password. You would just click on that and you would change the password. Easy peasy. So once you do that, then you are officially your own individual. So our brand new institutions to SARA, you can, yeah. We'll just have the most basic information in there, the institution's name, and okay, go back to your dashboard.
I think it's lagging as I'm going through the
It's a
process and
little,
you're talking, so it's a little bit behind, yeah.
that's okay. So you'll have your organization's name, your institution's address will all be in there, and the users, again, they will also already be in the system. So once you get here, then you'll up at the top, you'll see you'll have 3 tabs, dashboard, documents, and approvals. We don't ever use approvals, but we do use documents quite a bit. So click on the documents tab. And from this screen, you will see the 2 little tabs, in progress and document archive. So in progress, any document that you may have that is being used, which will be the SARA application, it will show up here. Once all the information is done with that document, it will go into document archive. So our first step, you'll go over to the right, Stephen, under Start Document. Cookie little mouse there. And click that, and we'll go all the way down to SARA application. Click on that. And just FYI, I'm not expecting everybody to just take notes and follow along. We do have a user manual that we are going to send to you, and it will have a step-by-step instructions on how to do all of this. So the first thing it will say, are you really sure you want to do this document? And we're like, yes, we do want to do the document. So you would just click continue. Okay, so we think it's a very simple application, but let's walk you through the parts of it first. The first tab is submission, and that's where you're going to input your documents and any URLs you have. The second tab is your comments tab, and that will be any information that staff needs to convey to you or that you need to convey to us. You will click on that tab and do so. Status just tells you where in the process the application is at. And then history is a neat little tab. Anytime the status changes of your document, the system will kind of take a picture of it and will save it. So you can go back after maybe we reverted it a few times and look at the second time we reverted and pull up that actual document. So it's a useful tool. So under the submission tab, you'll see the first one says upload the completed SARA application, including all required initials and signatures of the president, chancellor, or chief academic officer at the institution. So once you complete the document that you get either from the department's website or from NC SARA's website, you would save it electronically, and then you would, as it says, you can either attach the file or you can drag it from your computer and just drop it here. So Stephen, I think we have a sample SARA application. You know where that's at?
I'm not sure where the
There you
official
go.
one is, but I made a SARA
It didn't
application
show it,
doc,
but
so yeah.
so it is saving, and then once it gets uploaded, you can see it's thinking. There's a closure buzzer, and there, boom, it's in there. So what I always encourage my institutions to do when working in EdVera, immediately go down to the bottom and click save. I have had too many crying events where I've been working in EdVera and something happens and I go back and it's gone because I did not save it. We had a question in chat. Do all documents have to be in PDF or can they also be in Word? PDF and Word, and I think it also takes pictures like JPEG. I think it takes a bunch of different types of documents. If it ever says, no, you can't do that, then just save it as a different document and then try to upload it that way. Let's see then. The second item, upload a copy of the institution's most recently calculated USDE financial composite score. I put some more detailed information into our handbook. And Alicia, could you actually go ahead and put that into the chat, the PDF version? I've still got a little work to do, but that way people can follow along a little bit better. But I have a little bit more information in there about where this information comes from. The USDE actually puts out, obviously, their financial composite score. Hey, Stephen, if you click on that highlighted financial composite score, that link, go ahead and click on that. And it should take you, to the financial aid website. And if you're a Title IV institution and you know that you're already good to go on this particular site, you scroll down, keep scrolling until you get to the year. I think it's 2018, 2019. Yeah. So you can just go ahead and open that and find your institution on this listing and just kind of save that line. And that can be your evidence of meeting your financial composite score. Awesome. Alicia also put the link into chat. Now, in the event that obviously these lag a year or two, and your institution, maybe this was a bad year, but you have more recent information that would show that you are financially stable, then you would just work with the USDE to get an updated USDE composite score. It does have to be from the USDE. You can't just send us your financials and say, see, you qualify. Has to come from the USDE if you're a Title IV participating institution. If you do not participate in Title IV, you can upload a composite score that's calculated by a CPA based on your most recently audited financial statements. And we included a link that shows the USDE methodology just in case your auditor does not have that information handy. And again, I'll have a little bit more detail on the user manual once we send it out to everybody.
May I interrupt a moment,
Yes,
Laura?
please,
Did you ask me to put in the SARA EdVera user manual in chat?
Yeah, the PDF
I am just
version.
having a hard time attaching that in, and maybe I am.
That's okay. That's okay. We will follow up and send it out by email to everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So what do we do after we'll pretend that we've input something there, although we may actually have to, but we'll give it a try. We go down to the bottom and we save. Scroll on down, sir, and save. Hey, it worked. So item 3 is asking for a copy of the URL of the institution's complaint policy. So again, just find that URL on your website, copy, paste it right there. And you would save, obviously. And then on item 4, if your institution has professional licensure disclosures, like Aaron just went over earlier, you would put the URL of that information there. Just throw something in there so that we have a URL. You'll see the URL of this is mo.stage.edvera. This is our playground where we get to test out documents and whatnot. It is not your actual submission URL. If you could save that just to make sure we're not going to lose anything. And then the very last item down here is upload any additional documentation for the department's consideration. If maybe you are under some sort of provisional status with your accreditor and you want us to know what that is related to, you can input that in there, or just anything to support your application for. So once all that is input, you would submit. And you'll notice that the status of the application once been submitted, but then it's also changed to pending payment. So we're also super excited to announce, I may be premature, but I'm going to announce it anyway. Missouri is moving into not the 21st century, but the 20th century. And we're going to have electronic payment portals for our institutions to start using for SARA and for other EdVera purposes. Like, oh my God. They haven't officially announced it, so I don't want to throw that link up there, but it is in the user manual when you get it. Brandy's, yay! Poor Brandy, she's got 4 institutions to wrangle, so I know she's happy about it. But the user manual, Stephen, can you pop that up the user manual real quick, and we can kind of walk them through that if you have it available, and take us to the payment portal site.
User, yeah, one second, I'll pull it up.
We have been begging and begging for literally years to have something like this for our institutions. And, you know, it's one of those weird little silver linings that has to do with COVID that, you know, we got a little extra money to enhance things. And we're like, oh, this would be so great. Okay, so you can see all my little notes and everything here, here, and here. And okay, there we go. So we're pending payment. So if the application is complete, then we will send the primary SARA contact, the actual URL of the payment portal, and you'll see it right there. There's kind of a little screenshot of all the information that's going to ask for on the main page, and you just drop down, and it's the SARA renewal fee for you guys. If this would be a new SARA school, then they would do the SARA application fee. Scroll down just a little bit. Get more checks. You would fill out all of the responders information. So keep in mind, for your institution, the responder may or may not be the primary or secondary SARA contact. It's whoever's paying the bills, basically. So it may be the billing person that you complete on your SARA application, or it may be some other person, but they're the ones who would fill out this information. And then they would just put for SARA renewal under memo, and you would click proceed to payment information, and that's where you'll put in all the credit card or e-check information. Once you click the submit on that, then the computers will do their little things. Please give us at least 24 hours to let us catch up and for the information to hit our logs. And then once it does that, then we can go back to your SARA document, do magic on my end. So you've submitted your payment, and now my stage. We review it, and we got your money. So we will change your status. Stephen, you can go ahead and pull up EdVera again, and you'll want to refresh it. And you will notice that it has now become pending approval. So once it's pending approval, then that lets you know that staff has received it and we're reviewing it. And if we have any questions, we'll get back to you. So I will pretend that I'm reviewing his application, and maybe like a URL isn't working properly, or there could be some information that it's just not working very well. So we're going to put a comment into the SARA application, and we're going to do what's called reverting the document. So go ahead and refresh your page. And reverting is just our way of sending it back to you guys saying, oh, there's something you need to take a look at. So open the document, and we'll figure out what he did wrong. If you notice that there is now a comment in the little comment button. So go ahead and click on the comment, and that will tell you, URL is not working. So I should have put complaint URL or something. I would be very specific in our responses to what is incorrect in the application. Maybe it wasn't signed in the right place or something, but we will tell you what's wrong. So at that point, you would go back to the submission itself. You would make whatever correction is required, like maybe he forgot the dot in the EDU. You would fix that. Once that's done, what do? We save. And rather than hitting the resubmit button on the bottom, I want you to go up to the top. And you'll see an actions button there. So click on that actions button. And it's the same thing. You can do it from either way, but I prefer this because then you have affirmatively, risk averse, saved the document. And now you're going to go in and you're going to resubmit it. So click resubmit. And you'll see once that happens that your status will also change and it will go back to just pending application or pending approval. So I will go back in and I'll take a look and say, I don't know. Okay, yeah, it's fine. So once the department reviews it and approves it, you can go ahead and refresh. And I will note that every time the department takes an action on your document, whoever at your institution is the receiver, they will get an email saying, hey, dude has done something. And so now you see your document has been approved. So yay, that's how you use EdVera to submit your applications and the back and forth. Again, it's going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience for anybody to do it, but you scroll down to the bottom of that screen there, Stephen. Honor. Oh, where did it go? Go to one of your documents. I'm looking for the support button. Oh, we might not have it here because it's the stage. Well, anyway, at the bottom right side of the EdVera, the actual EdVera page, there will be a blue button for support, and that's our help desk. So you would just click on the button, tell us who you are, and tell us what's wrong. But again, you do have Alicia's and my emails, and many of you also have Leroy's emails. We're always here to help you get that. So what happens then after all of this stuff? Yay! It will be nice for us to have everything centralized, because lots of times, like I said, Leroy will get an application and then we'll get the payment, and then somebody else will get the supporting docs, and have it all in one place, and you can tell who does what at each time. Oh, I should say, notice that the document isn't here anymore. Steve, we're going to go to Document Archive. Yeah. Ta-da! So it's always there. Always there. Okay. So where was I going? Okay, so once you have done this, of course, we notify NC SARA at that time that the school has completed its state renewal. And at that time, NC SARA will then generate an email to the institution. I believe it goes to the primary SARA contact and possibly the billing contact. That was a new element that they added to the SARA application. And it's just letting you know, okay, you've been approved by your state, but now you have to make your payments so that you can be approved to participate nationally. Lots of new SARA primary contacts aren't aware of that, and they think they just renew with us and they're done. It is a two-step process, so I'm going to make sure I add that information to our user manual for EdVera. Oh, do we have any questions right now about the EdVera process for SARA applications? Just jump on in or put it in chat, whatever you prefer. I do think that this will help one in, again, keeping things in one location. We get calls often, did you get my check? Has it posted yet? You'll be able to see when we go, when it changes from pending payment to pending approval. Let's see, I had a question. Renewal applications will be handed the same way. Yes, this is the same. It's the same document, whether it's an initial application or a renewal application, and it is generally the same process on NC SARA's side. On our side, it's basically. Diane asks, will your instruction manual be posted in a central location for our reference? I will put it on the state SARA page that I showed you, and we'll make sure we include that URL for everybody so that you can make quick references. And will payments be by e-check or company credit card? As I remember, and Alicia, remind me, you have both those options. Right? You can do e-check or credit or debit card.
That is what I understood as well.
I think that will be anything to get rid of those paper checks would be awesome. Will anything change with the notification process for schools telling them it's time to renew? I don't believe so. And that is generally a process handled by NC SARA, where within 90 days, they let the institution and they copy us saying, hey, it's time to renew. And then they check in again, I think at the 60-day mark and the 30-day mark. And we tend to start communicating with you somewhere around the 60-day mark, I think, maybe earlier. And just letting you know, hey, here's the application, don't forget it. And if you need an invoice, we usually include an invoice now so that you can have that paper trail for bursars. Any more questions on the application? Thank you, Stephen, for being my substitute school. I really appreciate it. You can take down, you can stop sharing that. Awesome. And again, that was compliments of SARA's grant to us, so we were able to get the EdVera people to get that to us very quickly, because we only asked them for it, I think, 2 months ago, and they made it super fast. Okay, so this morning's session, we had some questions in general about the complaint policy and how it needs to be presented, where it's at. We try to make sure that our institutions have flexibility on how they present their complaints. We don't want little cookie cutters. Cookie cutters are easy, but it doesn't always allow the appropriate flavor, I guess, of each institutions. And we want to make sure that Missouri's institutions have appropriate oversight of that process. There are certain things that need to be in there, and NC SARA staff talked a little bit about some of the things. Aaron talked a little bit about some of the things. So generally, one, it does have to be accessible electronically, and I believe we prefer it if it's outside of a student portal, because that way a prospective student can also see that information. If it is your institution's policy that it is behind a student portal, meaning you have to be enrolled in that institution to get that, at this time we don't have, that's okay. It's not against our complaint policy process for you to have that. We do need to have the complaint policy talk about the process for filing the complaint, because this is for students enrolled under SARA. It can't be go and see the registrar and get this complaint form and hand it in, because they're not on campus. So there needs to be some sort of electronic process that they can either fill out a form online, send an email, some sort of process that a SARA enrolled student can follow. We do ask that the information include either a person or a title or an office or something like that, so they know who this complaint is going to. Is it going to the chancellor? Is it going to Emily Jacobson? Is it going to the office of the comptroller? Who is the complaint going to? And because that way, when the students come to us and say, oh, I sent a complaint to the, we will know who to follow up with. And speaking of, we do ask that somewhere in the complaint policy or within the school's website, that you do indicate to students that if they are dissatisfied with the resolution of the complaint that they have with the institution, then they can contact the department, the state portal entity, to follow a formal grievance against the school. And we do have that information available on that Missouri SARA site that you guys will get that URL to. And note that if a student does call us just out of the blue saying, hey, this institution was in violation of this policy or something, our first question is going to be, have you followed the complaint process at the institution? And if you haven't, we would refer the student back to the institution first. That's just standard policy that we do for all student complaints that we get. We want to have the institutions have the opportunity to resolve that at the local level, rather than bringing in the state regulators. Nobody wants, least of all us. But we are available to help students. I think Missouri has been very fortunate in that we have not had a student complaint, SARA complaint, rise to the level where it was a formal grievance. We've had some, oh, this didn't work out, and we've referred them back to the institution and it's been handled. So thank you, institutions, for taking care of your students that way. We do always get complaints, but they're not always, I think Jeannie was the one who pointed out some of the fun ones that you get. I got a bad grade. Teacher hates me. Our regulations don't preclude teachers being jerks. So unfortunately, that is not a complainable policy. And does anybody have any questions right now about Missouri's policy on SARA complaints?
I wanted to make another point as someone who took complaints just for public and independent institutions for quite a while. We also tended to get a lot of feedback or complaints from parents or spouses or, you know, someone affiliated with, but not the student. And we always had to tell them that the complaint had to actually come from the student before we would take it into the department to start the grievance process. So mom or dad can't fill it out on behalf of their son or daughter, which was just another, the grade issue made me think of that because that was another common situation.
Sorry, Murphy's sitting on my notes. So you gotta move, bud. I'm so sorry to disturb your nap. Please excuse me. One thing that I did want to touch on as well, and I see we don't have any more questions on complaints, but we're always up for questions. You know, please feel free to add them whenever you need to. One of the other sections that we wanted to talk about this afternoon was fees for participation in SARA. I know that you guys all have to pay NC SARA fees, and that's usually based on your FTE. Missouri has a flat fee for initial application and for renewal, and that is $500. And it has been $500 since Missouri was first accepted into the compact and into the reciprocity agreement. And yeah, it was fine. It was fine when, you know, there were like 10 schools, but we have 75 schools now, and more are applying every year. And it's a lot for one person because SARA is just a component of what we do. So we can't spend a lot of time on it because we don't have the funding source to do that. So we will be requesting to the coordinating board next year that SARA fees be raised. We will be in negotiations with chief academic officers, presidents, with the coordinating board about what that amount should be. But we did an analysis not 2 years ago. It was actually right pre-COVID. And we found that Missouri, you know, yet it has some of the most, it has the most schools, one of the most schools within the region and within NC SARA itself. But conversely, we also have one of the lowest fees, not only in the region, but also of NC SARA itself. So it's not that we want to be, greedy guesses, because, it just goes to support the program. That's all that the SARA money is for. But we cannot dedicate the time that we need to SARA to make sure that you guys have all the information and oversight from us to make sure you're in compliance. But, we just can't provide those services at the level that funding allows right now. Funding is about, I think maybe it'll cover like half the fringe benefits of one person. And that sounds terrible, and we don't want to make it about money. But as you noticed especially from Erin's information this morning, like there's going to be a lot more oversight of distance education and how schools are handling that. And if we're going to do our best work to support you guys, then we are going to possibly have to raise fees. It's not going to be an exorbitant amount, but on the good side, if you enroll a bunch more students in distance education programs, even one student might be able to make up the difference of what we might be asking for. And again, we're not just going to throw it out there, say, hey, starting here, you guys owe this money. It will go through a process of review by, again, chief academic officers, presidents, and the coordinating board itself. And we will include you guys in that discussion as well. So I think that's all I had on my notes for this session. Do we have any questions about anything we've covered so far? There's a lot to throw at you right after lunch. I hope everybody had a great lunch. I had chips and salsa. Okay, so we are a little speedy. I know I'm a fast talker. That's all great. So we can take a quick break again. Let everybody kind of walk off the chips. And we'll come back at 1:30 to have a panel discussion that will be led by Brandy Elliott from the UM system and her team, and they will be talking about out-of-state placements. So, okay, thank you guys so much. Again, you can put more questions in the chat and we'll answer them, and we'll be back at 1:30.